Jameis. Well, that's cute. You guys match.
Yeah, but no one knows.
They do now.
No one knows that me and Tucker match.
Bet.
Wonder what Tucker's wearing.
Nothing.
Chiefs have another option at left tackle. Could we see him this week? Let's talk about it.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
Welcome into a live edition of the KC Laboratory, presented by Emprise Bank, member FDIC, our tremendous partners in possible here at KC Sports Network. I am here with my tremendous partner, Matthew Lane. Ooh. How was your Thanksgiving, Matthew? Was it good?
It was good. We have with work schedules and stuff right now. We actually didn't travel anywhere for Thanksgiving, so it was just like my immediate family that lives here because everybody else is out of town. We got the big traveling for Christmas. So it was actually a pretty low key Thanksgiving for us this time around, which was nice leading up to it. But after you've had your entire life of Thanksgiving with a whole family, after the day gets around, you're like, oh, this is great. No travel. There's not a bunch of people. The day rolls around. You're just kind of like, oh, I have to eat all this turkey myself, huh? Well, that stinks.
I thought for a second there we were gonna get sentimental Matthew Lane, and you're like,
oh, buddy.
I was looking around, I was like, man, I miss my family. And no, it was, man, I gotta eat all this meat.
You gotta eat all this dried, mediocre bird that nobody wants except for on Thanksgiving.
I will tell you what, I had some turkey. I had some turkey this week. And I had some turkey the day after, and it still slapped because my mom can flat cook. And I am sorry, Matthew, that you just have never had a good turkey. That is a shame for you.
I had a deep fried turkey. A deep fried turkey is phenomenal, and that's just cheating.
I'm surprised you didn't put a duck on there.
We did have duck.
Okay.
I just wanted to get my turkey take off. That's all.
I don't know if I've ever had duck actually.
Oh, buddy, come on out.
I know. I should have
all kinds of different duck.
I should have come to the Panthers game.
You should have.
And I just could have come out. We could have gone out and had some turkey and all that good stuff. But yeah, appreciate everybody that's hanging out with us. I hope you all had a tremendous Thanksgiving. And I know we've seen each other since Thanksgiving, but I think we were all too upset to deal with all of that, right? But no, we've got plenty to talk about in this, and I think part of me does feel like flushing this game a little bit. And is that the best version of the Kansas City Chiefs we're going to see? Absolutely not. Are they 11-1 and the number one seed despite everybody just falling in love with the Buffalo Bills all over and over again? Like it seems like they do every time this time of year. Yes. But there's still plenty to talk about in this game. And we can start with the offensive tackle situation.
Hold on, no. Before we even get there, okay. What is the worst Chiefs performance of the year? What is the worst game the Chiefs have played this season? Is it was it that game against the Raiders? Is it a different game? What do you think is their worst performance of the season?
Let me go look back real quick. I think the Raiders game is up there. I think that is one of the worst games of the year for the Chiefs.
Okay.
Broncos.
Well, that's a pretty bad game.
Pretty bad game too. I think those are probably the two top games, and they both happened within the last month. I think the Panthers game's a little bit, I could hear an argument for that game, but the offense was pretty good in that game. So what do you do there? So what do you think?
Yeah, I think the offense moved the ball really well versus the Raiders. The offense looked generally pretty good. There's the one glaring. That's right. That is right, Dr. Ozzy. There's one glaring issue with the offense. That's the tackle position that we're about to talk about. But besides that, I don't know. It feels to me like the offense was clicking. So it was just bad defensively. And even then they didn't give up that many points. So it was a gross game. I just don't know if it was the worst. The Broncos is a good call. What about, and this is kind of unfair because of the injury, what about the Chargers game? They started their first 6 possessions with 0 points, score a touchdown, miss a field goal. They're losing at halftime. Both teams barely touched the ball in the second half. Not only was it a gross game all around, but there were problems on both sides of the ball a little bit. So I might even go back to the Chargers game.
Yeah, so every divisional game so far this year.
Oh, wow.
Is that a through line that you were trying to identify here, Matthew? Is this a loaded comment?
I should have saved this for Matter Day.
Let's hear it.
Tucker, cut it out. Oh, no, that. I should just say this conversation for Matter Day because they play the Chargers this week. It'd have been a fun introduction to here's the game preview versus the Chargers. Tucker, you got to cut all this out. We just get to clip it, put it on Wednesday's show, and we'll just reuse the bit.
Tucker's too busy. I can see him in the background enjoying some soup or something. Some kind
of too busy, just over there having dinner.
It looks delightful, whatever it is. But no, yeah, I mean, Tucker thinks it's the Broncos, he says, with a warm belly. Yeah, it is kind of funny, though. You're right. There's a through line here. There's all these divisional games, and I think they've played 4 divisional games now, and a lot of them have been really ugly. It's a good 3 of the 4, I think. I mean, one of the first game against the Raiders was pretty well controlled by the Chiefs, if I remember correctly. I mean, they were up, I don't know, 17-10. I don't know. Yeah. Good thoughts.
Either way, yeah, we all think the AFC West games have been the worst. I don't really think that Raiders game matches up there. It was ugly, but like I said, I think the offense was really kind of working it. So I don't think that one's gonna go up there with the Broncos and the Chargers games. Or even the first Raiders game might have been uglier than that one, across the board. So yeah, I really just wanted to kind of dive into and be hey, I think that the Chargers game was the toughest one they've played, but if not, it's all the divisional games. So that was cool. Yeah. That was a fun Monday conversation that should have happened on Wednesday. Well, this is what happens when they play on Friday.
We try to introduce it back into Hamilton somehow on Wednesday. We'll give it a go. So I do think, it's weird looking at this game, and then you see in some of the things that you see, Patrick Mahomes goes for 262, or sorry, not 262. That was the last Chiefs Raiders game. He goes for more than that. He goes for 306, and you see DeAndre Hopkins 4 for 90. You see Travis Kelce 7 for 68. You see Noah Gray 4 for 58. Xavier Worthy 5 for 54. And you start thinking to yourself, that kind of looks like what a playoff line could look like, in one of these big time games. And it's you see some good things there. But you're right. It kind of just points back to the tackle issues that this team has had this season. And, they've tried 2 different guys over at the left tackle spot, and they're clearly not satisfied. They tried to give it a go with both of these players. They didn't bring Donovan Smith back. It doesn't seem like they're at any point really serious about Donovan Smith, just by all indications. And they let these 2 young guys try to develop. They're trying to find a left tackle of the future. At cost, at a very cost-effective approach. That's what they're trying to do here. They want to be able to be cheap at the left tackle spot, so they've thrown some numbers out to see if they can. They've had to bench both of the guys that have been candidates, and that's why DJ Humphries came back into the mix here this last week when the Chiefs signed him after an ACL injury that kept him from real consideration for the majority of teams until he was healthy from that. So, yeah, they've had some struggles, and you kind of just feel like if they can get competent left tackle play out of somebody down the stretch, this thing's going to really take off, Maddie.
Yeah, let's start with talking about the offensive line versus the Raiders. And then we'll kind of move on there for I think the comments today from Andy Reid about DJ Humphries and stuff. On a rewatch of that game, everybody's had a couple days to do it. So I think a lot of Chiefs fans have rewatched that game. And I haven't talked to anybody who has come away from rewatching that game and been oh, the tackle position one isn't as bad as I thought watching it live. Or, oh, that's exactly what I thought. Almost everybody's kind of come out and said, ooh, it was maybe worse. All of the issues, not all, but the majority of the issues can be traced directly back to the fact that their left tackle was really, really bad. I mean, not even that the right tackle wasn't great, but he was acceptable. There was some bad mixed in, but you take that going up against a Max Crosby. It was just very specifically the left tackle had no real hope. And the Chiefs were consistently either trying to do something to help him, whether that's a chip, whether that's an extra block, whether that's rolling away from, they were constantly doing stuff to try to help him, or it felt like he was kind of blowing the play up. You talked about how their offensive stat line, especially passing the ball, kind of looked like one that you might see for a playoff offense, until you realize that like every red zone trip that stalled out was because of a false start, a sack given up, a bad play from the left tackle was like playing a huge part in preventing them from putting up more points and like executing touchdown drives. So it's just, when you go back and watch it, it was really bad. And beyond losing a ton, beyond losing quickly, beyond losing to the same move over and over again, you could see watching the game from body language. And hey, you didn't have to read body language. There was a microphone that picked up a glorious phrase that we're going to talk about. Patrick Mahomes was getting fed up with it. Patrick Mahomes was getting very tired of what was going on over there, to the point at one point in time, he yells and the mic picks it up. It's the same fucking move. Like, he in the pocket out of his peripheral vision is seeing the same guy lose to the same move over and over again, to where he's just yelling it out into the air on the field. You see after the final sack where he just kind of gets corralled and is held there, he walks off. I said it on 21 Questions with Craig. Like, he doesn't even walk off like he's pissed anymore. He walks off like he's just disappointed and so over the entire concept. I don't see how they continue to roll out with the left tackle play that they've had. Like, that was a quarterback that had enough of what he had been dealing with in that particular game.
Yeah. And understandably so, because like so many of those moments were keeping this team from doing what they want to do. And like, they've been through so much the last couple of years trying to slog through some things and work through some things. And the regular season has effectively become, as it should be for every team, a chance to just kind of figure out what you are, who you are, and build that identity. But man, there's just so many plays left on the table, left on the field, because of what they've had at the left tackle position in this last game. And I think it's just so unstable and so unsteady, because like there's some weeks that Wanya Morris has looked better than other weeks. But like, I think just not having consistency in what to expect week over week has been problematic. And ultimately that's why I think they benched him, is because it was just so unreliable in this particular game that they didn't know what to expect from a play-to-play basis, and they couldn't run regular offense, to your point, Matthew. And sometimes they do this against, really good tackles or good defensive ends. But, I mean,
it wasn't Max Crosby that was killing him, though.
It was Caleb Von Chason. Exactly. I mean, I wasn't saying it like I was just saying, like, this team does a good job of game planning for good edge players, but like, you can only do that so many times, and you can only do it so many ways, and you can only, keep the Rolodex, from being revealed too early without, running into problems here. So yeah, it was Caleb Von Chason with a 2-hand swipe. Like, it was to speed up the arc, 2-hand swipe, gone.
Any time that he threw a stutter step or even just changed his pacing, Wanya Morris threw his hands or his outside hand right down the middle, tried to get hands on him because he had slowed down. Like, Wanya Morris, I'm assuming his mental process is, his feet stopped, my feet are going to stop to mirror, I need to get hands on him now, but he's not getting in a good position, and he's shooting his outside hand down the middle of the chest plate, and it is just getting knocked away, and he's going around him over and over again. And we saw the same move lead to at least 4 of the pressures that Chason got, if not more. And I'm sure everything else sets up on that. So like, yeah, it was annoying for the team not to figure that out. And so, the game goes long. Everyone's getting tired of it. You see the Chiefs are starting to run a lot of 3-man routes. And there was a lot of times, like, prime vision's great. I love the prime games because you get the prime vision where you can actually see everything, and you're a tiny bit delayed from anybody watching on cable. So like, I'm watching in our KCS and Discord for a not big game. I'm okay being a couple seconds behind, so people react to the play. I'm kind of have an idea of what's happening. And you see so many times people get mad at Pat for holding the ball or for scrambling or dropping his eyes. And so I see the play a brief second later, and I'm like, well, they ran a 3-man route concept and no one was open. What do you want them to do? Just stand there and wait? Like, there's 2 guys in the flat because they had the chip, both sides of the defensive ends. It's a 3-man route. The routes are done. It's covered. It's now playground ball. Why should he not be having happy feet at that point in time? That's his game when that happens. So I think so much of what's happening at that left tackle spot is really impacting the entire passing offense. It's nice to see the passing offense is getting better and better week over week right now, despite these issues. And if you fix them, I mean, it seems like they are on the right path right now. It seems like you can actually start to see the light at the end of the tunnel with this offense. You know, Pacheco comes back, breaks an explosive run. DeAndre Hopkins is getting more targets, more snaps. Their connections looking better and better. Kelsey's number can still be drawn. Noah Gray's getting better. Xavier Worthy's getting better. Hollywood Brown is reportedly going to be back, hopefully sometime before the end of the regular season. So, like, you see the light at the end of the tunnel for the passing offense. If you can fix this left tackle spot and you don't have to double chip every play, you can trust your left tackle to occasionally hold up for 2.5 seconds, which they can't do right now. So it's looking good. But I mean, like, do you think they're going to see a change at left tackle coming soon, Kent?
Well, that's the big question that was asked of Andy Reid in this press conference today. Just there's getting a lot of questions about, DJ Humphries, his availability. First off, they asked, hey, like, what was DJ Humphries doing in practice this week? Or what will he be doing? We'll work him in and see what we can get, see how he feels. He hasn't played in a while, so just want to make sure he's in a good position. Andy Reid has his own takes on, what's gone wrong with the left tackle position. Listen, we've got young guys working in there, and so the growth, they're going against good players, and the good ones have gotten probably the better of us, like, the guy that got picked up off waivers and Kayvon Chaisson. And then, they asked, hey, like, do you think there's a possibility for DJ Humphries to start at left tackle? He said, listen, this last week was a short week, so we didn't have a whole lot of time for the, that fast part of the game practices. Think, he'll have a chance, and I'll have a better idea as we go, and he'll have a better idea of how he feels. Then we just go from there, and we'll see how it works out. Then he goes on, have you determined who will start at left tackle this week? No. Like, it seems like the window could be open as soon as this game for DJ Humphries, Maddie. Like, it really does feel, especially, and here's the thing, like, if Patrick Mahomes is as frustrated behind closed doors as he was in that game, then I get it. I get, I'm not saying rush him, but the first second he's available, I get putting him out on the field.
If I were to put on
confidence.
If I were to put on like my Andy Reid like glasses to try to decipher what he exactly was saying, it was if DJ Humphries feels like he can play and picks up our stuff fast enough, he's gonna play this week. And that's what Andy Reid was saying. I think the words at first, like just seeing the tweets and then like, kind of like getting the bits and pieces, I was like, okay, it's Andy Reid playing the middle. He's, saying, hey, this is a learning moment for Wanya Morris, the game that happened, and Tooney's an option. DJ Humphries could be an option. But like when you actually read or listen to exactly what he said, it's kind of like, hey, we got to work him in. It was a short week. We don't know what happened last week. This week, we're going to get an idea of where he's at. He's going to get an idea of where he's at. And it really comes like out at the end of it to me, just him kind of saying meaning if he can go, he's going to go, because what we've been dealing with at left tackle this year isn't working. Oh, and by the way, I understand that Joe Tooney was expressly asked about, but it was asked. And it was also like, hey, he's also an option just in case we really don't want to play any of these left tackles, which it seems like we might not want to play any of these other left tackles, even though he did say he liked Tooney better at guard or wants Tooney to start at guard. But it seems very clear to me that they don't feel great about a Wanya Morris or a Kingsley having to play. And if DJ Humphries mentally is there and physically is there, I think he gets the first attempt, even if he's still trying to play catch up a little bit.
I think you're right. Also, just like hearing Andy Reid talk about, hey, like Mike Caliendo's a good player too, just so you know. Like adding that little nugget, like, hey, just in case we have to play Joe Tooney at left tackle, I'm just letting you know, Joe. Hey, we really like Mike Caliendo too, so maybe that's just why we're doing it, because Mike Caliendo is such a good player. We had to get him on the field, and we got to move Joe Tooney to the left tackle to make that happen. But yeah, I think, and by the way, I think Mike Caliendo is a very fine backup guard. By the way, that isn't a knock on Mike Caliendo, but I think, this team's just going to be scrambling to find the best 5 and something that coach and quarterback are confident in. Like, that's what I think the rest of the season is about, is figuring out, because like there's going to be some challenges for this team from a pass rush perspective coming up down the home stretch, right? There's some good defensive lines that this team's going to have to face over the remainder of the season. And so, like, they're going to get tested. You're going to get to see the Browns, the Texans, and the Steelers back to back weeks here. And it wouldn't be a bad thing to get DJ Humphries some reps before they see that Browns defensive line either. So, I think now would you rather it be this week against,
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Because
I don't even care what the rest of that is. They could be playing prime Khalil Mack and Von Miller this week. My answer would still be yes, because I don't want to watch Wanya Morris try to block those guys either after seeing what Caleb on Chason did, right? It's like, as soon as he's ready to go, you got to get DJ Humphries in there. I think it's just like at the end of the day, and that's what I think they feel. Like I said, maybe I'm reading too far into body language stuff and the mic picking up that one thing. But like, we kind of saw it last year too, right? Like, you could see the point, the Bills game where they lost, you could see the point where Mahomes was kind of like going from, that was more pissed off. But like, you could see it bubbling. You could see the body language changing to just like, I can't believe how badly this is going with this position group, the wide receivers last year. This year, it seems like frustration, but less so anger now, and just more like, I just don't know what to do. This is ridiculous. This keeps happening. I don't know how to keep moving along. And like, I think that's why you saw the Chiefs finally make a move at tackle, right? Like, they finally made the move because we got far enough in the year to know that this isn't going to work. There's no end in sight this season to fixing this. Make a move, and it might be a quick turnaround. When you play as bad as these guys have in two different games now, like, right? We saw Kingsley almost completely cost them the Bengals game, and then now we see Wanya almost cost them the Raiders game. They're trying to get somebody in there they feel comfortable with. They just don't have it yet.
All right, so we can move on a little bit here, Maddie. I'll ask you this question. So if they get capable play out of the left tackle position from DJ Humphries, is the offense fixed, or is there more problems that need to be addressed?
Ooh, it is okay. If they get just competent, if they get a half step better offensive tackle play out of DJ Humphries than what they got from Donovan Smith, and I think the upside is even higher than that. But like, if they get a half step better than what they got from Donovan Smith last year, is the offense fixed? No, but I think it becomes entirely functional to the point to where you can easily see them have the same kind of run they had last year in the playoffs, where maybe it's not always pretty, maybe it's not always perfect, but they will do enough things well that they will be dangerous. They will be in every single game. They'll put up points when they need to. What I'm wondering is if when you improve the left tackle spot and you get maybe a little bit extra time to make some of these throws, if that deep ball doesn't start landing, how much of the deep ball missing is rushing throws or feeling unsafe about your platform and just kind of trying to get the ball off versus actually just being terrible at it. Not bad, but terrible at it. So if the better left tackle play even slightly improves the deep ball, then I would go as far to say fixed.
Oh, I mean, I think you're about right. Like, if they get capable, just Donovan Smith level tackle play almost even, because like, I don't think Donovan Smith was enough of an issue for Patrick Mahomes down the home stretch, right? Like, he still played at an elite level with Donovan Smith playing at the tackle spot. So I think the left tackle position solves a lot of what ails them, and I do think you're right. Like, some of the stuff that we've seen in the passing game down the field might become better with a little bit more comfortability, a little bit more confidence in what the protection's looking like play to play. So, I think I do think though the vertical passing game is one of the biggest things that can kind of unlock this offense and quote unquote fix what's left to be fixed. I do really think that's that still remains the biggest mystery, and like, they continue to try it. They continue to take a shot a game, which I'm glad they're continuing to try. They need to keep trying, and they just need enough for teams to honor it. And I'm just hoping that this team can find enough here down the stretch. Xavier Worthy, that's just another place that Xavier Worthy's pacing for about 600 yards in his rookie year. that could be a 700-800 yard season if they're able to find some vertical passing game for the remainder of the season. So I think that's a place that this can definitely unlock again.
Well, and like that, it's just like the vertical game, I think, unlocks everything else that they want to do as well, right? And the reason that I really wonder if it's just specifically on the vertical, and the reason I really wonder if it is just more protection based and having to hold the ball and wait for Worthy to get downfield and stuff. Look at some of those throws to DeAndre Hopkins downfield. It's a different type of throw. He's kind of putting it on Hopkins and letting him adjust to the ball. It's kind of back shouldering stuff. But some of these vertical shots and these out and ups to DeAndre Hopkins are thrown perfectly. Even the one that's the pass interference that he does kind of throw up and up a little bit is like a perfect throw. Without the pass interference, Hopkins is running under it. You look at the corner to Justin Watson that he drops kind of earlier, the sail route that he drops in the first or second drive of the game. Perfect throw downfield. Again, slightly different types of throws, but you look at when the ball's coming out quicker to get downfield, and it's not just like a touch throw or coming off a hard play action where he needs to sit in the pocket and wait to throw it. Some of these throws have been still very good. Like some of these vertical passes have hit their mark. It's just really specifically the connection to Worthy on the longer developing plays where the timing is just off. And you watch some of them, and I don't want to excuse it, they're bad throws a lot of the times, but like you watch them and it looks like he's rushing. And we see a Divine Diablo run right by Travis Kelce and, hit his arm as he's trying to throw the ball. In the past, we've seen him having to make the throw while his feet can't really plant and drive because someone's in his lap, or Wanya Morris or Kingsley are getting beat around the edge and he's having to throw it as that hit's coming. So I just wonder if you get that fraction of a second more, you feel more comfortable setting your feet if we don't see, 20% vertical pass rate accuracy become 40%. And all of a sudden now teams have to start respecting it again. The explosive play is there. And now that opens up all the intermediate area for Kelce, for Gray, for DeAndre Hopkins, Hollywood Brown when he comes back. All these guys now have more space to work. Oh, and by the way, Isaiah Pacheco's back. He hits an explosive run in his first game back, the longest run of the Chiefs season. The run game was terrible outside of it, but now they have an explosive element back in the run game. So are you going to defend this highly efficient run game that we've seen most of the year that also now has an explosive element with Pacheco, or are you going to protect the deep ball? So I do think there could be a big chain reaction if you just get better play out of that left tackle spot.
I do too. I think that's the linchpin, and if they can figure that out, good things are going to happen. We're going to take a break, and we'll talk about more good things that happened in this game right after this.
Shop Chiefs tickets and more with no fees. Plus, save big with code KCSN at ticketsforless.com, the official ticket provider of KC Sports Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, you still have time to enter the Soul of KC Holiday Raffle and Toy Drive. It benefits Operation Breakthrough and the wonderful kids out in that program that maybe don't have the same kind of luxuries in Christmas that we, a lot of us are blessed to have. And so we do a raffle every year. We raise money for these kids. We go out to Dick's Sporting Goods and we purchase a lot of different stuff to try to help support this great organization that's doing a lot for the kids in the KC area. If you donate $20, you get one ticket into this raffle. You donate $50, you get 5 tickets, and you donate $15, you get 100. Or if you donate $100, you get 15 tickets. We've got all kinds of incredible prizes, all kinds of signed memorabilia from a variety of different Chiefs players like Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, Justin Reed, Amari Connor, Leo Chenal, Nick Bolton. I think that's it. I think I got them all. So, and then just all kinds of great prizes. A lot of different restaurants throughout the metro have donated. But anyways, you enter donations enter you into this raffle as a way to give you guys a chance to win something as a thank you for your support. But you're doing so much for these kids and the impact that it will have on them this Christmas. It's stuff that that they need, and we want to try to help support them. So go to givebutter.com/KCSN Soul, or you can go to KC Sports Network Venmo, and that's how you can donate. I think you have until, I believe, the 9th. Is that right, Tuck? Is it December 9th, I think, is the last day? Yes, that is correct. December 9th is the last day that you can donate. The winners will be announced on Only Weird Games on Tuesday, December 10th. And I think the next week we'll go out and we will support a bunch of kids by getting a bunch of stuff at Dick's Sporting Goods. So appreciate your consideration, support. Thank you, everyone that's always donated to that. It means a lot to us. It's one of the coolest things that we do every year, and we're so proud to be part of that. And if you've ever learned about the kids at Operation Breakthrough, you'll know why. So we appreciate you all for supporting that. So yeah, the Chiefs are potentially getting an addition to the left tackle position. They got some help here back at the running back and the defensive end spot. The return of Isaiah Pacheco, the return of Charles Omenihu to this team. We talked a little bit about Isaiah Pacheco here. We can start there, Maddie. Yeah, I thought it was a good first game back from him. I thought he did some good things in this game. Had that big explosive run, which was nice to see. I thought one of the things I wondered is maybe just getting to, have a break and a step away from being on the field might be good for him. I thought he saw the field really well, comparatively to what we've seen in the past. Like I thought, the vision's not perfect, but I thought the vision was better this week, which was good to see. So, I think part of the reason that big run broke was because of that vision. So, I thought he had a good first week back.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good performance. I didn't get a ton of carries. I think 7 carries. Did he have a catch? That he had a catch in there too, right? Maybe I misremembered.
Yeah, 1 for 5 yards.
Yeah, it was a solid showing for Pacheco. You'll expect the workload to increase. The Chiefs didn't really lean on the run game. They were very inefficient outside of that one run, like one of their worst game of the year, one of the worst games in the season from anybody. Not just the Chiefs, but from anybody this year. So like they didn't really
14 carries, 24 yards or 25 yards, I believe. 13 carries for 25 yards.
Yeah, I think like the success rate was like 12% or something. It was really bad. So the run game wasn't working. They could have leaned into it more in the second half to protect bad tackle play, but like it hadn't been working a ton, so they didn't go into it. We'll see. You would expect the work rate to increase for Pacheco, maybe start to split a little bit more time with him and Kareem Hunt, and we'll just see how it goes, right? If he comes back, Kareem Hunt's in the room now. The offensive line has been blocking very well for Mr. Kareem Hunt this entire time. They continue to block that well, and Pacheco, even if he doesn't maybe have the same vision or feel for the runs and pacing that Kareem Hunt does, what he does, though, is have like when that crease is there and he hits it, he can be gone. He can give you that 30, 40, 50-yard gain. And the issue had been, in the past is maybe like last year, he maybe wasn't hitting it at the right time as consistently as you would like. And it was a lot more grinding stuff out by just kind of slamming your head into a brick wall over and over again. It worked in some spots, but the Chiefs run game last year had taken a small step backwards from what it was the year before. It seems blocking wise and scheme wise, they're back ahead. They're ahead of the game again. And now you get a more dynamic rusher. So yeah, I'm excited to see what he does and to see if this run game can bounce back from what it did versus the Raiders. Another kind of tough test coming up this week. So maybe we won't know right away, but it was nice to see him back. It was nice to see the explosion was there. It doesn't look like his injury took away any of the speed or acceleration or anything that Pacheco had.
Do you think that a smaller workload will lead to more success for Kareem Hunt? Or do we think that the Chiefs kind of sapped what he had left and this is what he is for the remainder of the year?
I think the Chiefs ran that body to the point of it wants to break down. That is it. It wants to. That body wants to say no, thank you. I think, how do I put this? His workload's going to go down, and I think he'll be the same level of effectiveness, right? Because like even during this stretch where he was at his best in some of these games in the fourth quarter, it was when you would assume that his body would be the most beat up is when he was kind of having some of his best runs. If we go back to the past even month where everybody's we're sitting here saying like, man, watch him get up off the ground after his first hit, right? He's slow. He looks like he hurts, but then the fourth quarter comes around. That's been when he's been at his best. So, maybe as the weather gets colder and like that battering ram style that he has, like just kind of picks up and he stays super efficient or gets even more efficient. Maybe Isaiah Pacheco wearing down the opposing defense will allow Kareem Hunt to come in and kind of be a battering ram as well. Like we'll see. I don't know if I think they'll just splitting his carries is kind of like going to be a magic pill to return to, that first Chargers game level of this like elusiveness or burst that it looked like he had.
I tend to agree. I'm not sure that we're going to get some, spry version of Kareem Hunt down the stretch just because he's getting less of a workload. And I think the Chiefs, to a degree, knew that, which is why they've ran him so much over the last few weeks. They're just getting what they can. And I think that's kind of what it looks like. We'll see what he's able to do for this team. And hopefully you get, like you said, a little bit more out of him towards the home stretch, but I just don't know if there's just like a ton of juice left. And I think the Chiefs have just, they've needed somebody to take the volume of those carries, and it's been fun to watch. But I think it's, the return slowly dissipating, and hopefully you can get a little bit more back. But they definitely needed Isaiah Pacheco, and they definitely got him at the right time. Charles Omenahue's return. What was your thought about that, Maddie?
I thought Omenahue played really well. I thought he came in, same thing. He looked good for a guy coming off of like an injury, a lower body injury. You wonder about how explosive he'll be, if he'll look the same, if he'll look stiff and like he's fighting through some stuff. I thought he genuinely looked pretty good. I thought he was doing a good job getting up the arc to provide like I don't want to say speed, but the like a high pass rush, the deeper in the pocket pass rush, but staying in position to where he could counter back inside. And I think that was helping Chris Jones coming across on the other side. I think that was helping Karlaftis and these other guys that were kicking inside. So I thought he looked good, but then he was kind of serving a purpose that I don't think a Joshua Uche or a Felix Anudike-Uzomah have accomplished yet. And when they rush on the high side, it's just speed. There's no counter inside. They're going to lose their kind of that gap integrity of containing the quarterback there. I think Charles does a good job of making sure he's in position that a quarterback can't escape his direction. And so we saw him. He kind of got in towards the end on one of the sacks, I think, just kind of to help clean it up because he was still in that right spot. So I thought he looked good against the run. Same thing. He held the edge well when they came his way. He gives you the best combination of pass rush and run defense to play across from George Karlaftis or whoever's going to play on the other side, something they haven't really had a two-way player like that for a while.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, we saw, I think we talked about, we saw the defensive ends moving inside a little bit more than they had earlier in the year as a result of his return. And, I think you saw Mike Dana kick inside a little bit more. I'm curious to see, how that affects this front the rest of the way out. His addition was very obvious to me, though. I think the four-man pass rush looked better as a result of him being in the game here, adding another body that's capable. Any snaps that Malik Herring was taking, like Malik Herring was a healthy scratch for this game. So, you're just adding, one more capable body, and guys might be able to settle into their roles a little bit better as a result of that. So I was really excited to see his return. Do you think the Chiefs are going to have enough on the defensive line for the remainder of the season?
Yeah, I think they have the bodies now. I think they got a bunch of different types. They got a bunch of different guys that do different stuff. So yeah, I think as long as Omenahue stays healthy, they'll have enough. I think the interior is still a little thin, and I wonder. I think the run defense kind of getting a little bit worse as the year goes on, as more of a result of the coverage conundrum that they've been facing. But I also starting to wonder a little bit if the interior guys are wearing down. Like, only so long can you rely on Pennell and Nadi to essentially take on all of the blocks, right? Like those two guys have to take on all the double teams. They have to hold their ground all year long because Tershawn Wharton, Chris Jones, these are penetrating style run defenders. They're not guys that are going to just stuff up the middle. And so I do wonder if they're a little thin on the interior, but in terms of just having bodies across the board, I think so. You got George Karlaftis and Charles Omenahue both can do a little bit of everything. If Omenahue's healthy, he's, I think, better than Karlaftis kind of at both a run defense and as a pass rusher, but at very least as a pass rusher. Mike Dana's very good versus the run. You have the speed of Uche and Felix if you can ever figure out how to properly use them. And I think that's been the issue this team has come up with is they don't know how they want to use that speed to go along with Chris Jones and Tershawn Wharton, two guys who kind of freestyle a little bit. So if they can ever figure out how to get all those pieces to mesh, I think they might be in a pretty decent spot along the defensive line, as long as those interior guys don't start to wear down versus the run.
Go ahead. No, go.
I was saying we just got a question about Uche from Pseudonym 284. Do we think Uche can work into the rotation more, or is he just? I don't think he's in the doghouse. I don't think he did anything wrong. I think the issue that they're kind of running into, like I said, Chris Jones is going to hunt a matchup, and then he's going to freelance on that matchup to win however he can. It's kind of everybody else's job to clean up afterwards. Like, right, if somebody starts to scramble, it's whoever's playing next to Chris Jones, their job to cover for wherever he vacated if the quarterback scrambles that way. That gets kind of hard if you have Uche, or this works for Felix too, screaming off one of the edges, and they get to 10 yards deep and they're going to try to cut up into the pocket, but Chris Jones is already chasing a quarterback out. Well, guess what? They just left a lot of open space. And if the D tackle next to that guy is already having to cover for Chris Jones. They can't cover for that side. So I think and that's what we saw versus the Bills. The pocket integrity, even when Uche or Chris Jones were winning from time to time, they just couldn't hold everything in the pocket. So I don't think it's a doghouse thing. I just think the pieces with those types of speed rushers fitting with Chris Jones, they haven't quite figured out how to layer it just yet. Maybe, and I hope they will come playoff time.
I think they will. And I mean, they wouldn't have just acquired Joshua Uche if Steve Spagnuolo, Steve Spagnuolo gave his stamp of approval for adding a guy like him. So like they're going to come up with a game plan for how to utilize him for sure. And it's just going to take some time for them to kind of just, like you said, work these pieces together. I think getting Amenihu back is the first step, and then they can kind of go from there. And like the good news is you've got time to try to figure some things out before, the ultimate, games that matter the most in the playoffs. But I think this unit, from a front perspective, will be humming at the right time. I will say this, like that game sucked and I was frustrated right afterwards, but just, I think a little bit of time made me just feel a lot better about the realization that it's one game, and like there's definitely some things that like are frustrating and need to be addressed very quickly, offensive tackle. But at the same time, like we've seen this team, play worse in the last 2 seasons and lose some football games and not be the 1 seed this time last year. And here we sit, they're in a good position. And if they peak at the right time, they'll be the 1 seed. And they'll be positioned very well for the playoffs. I do trust this coaching staff to figure some things out, even though it's been kind of frustrating to get there. And this week, last week, was as frustrated after a win as I've been in a while. But yeah, I don't know. I needed some time. That's all. Okay, let's talk about the cornerback position a little bit here, because that's where we saw this team, continue to try to tweak and modify and make some adjustments and try to figure some things out. Nazeeh Johnson starts the game. Nazeeh Johnson does not end the game. Joshua Williams and Keith Taylor both get opportunities in this game to try to win over Dave Merritt and Steve Spagnuolo. I don't know what it is, but Joshua Williams finally back in the mix. I think he played the best of the 3 guys that we just got done talking about. I know it was a limited sample size for Keith Taylor, but I thought Joshua Williams probably had the best performance of the 3 in this game. What say you?
Yeah, Joshua Williams stepped in and looked good. There was maybe the Brock Bowers touchdown where he I think it was Brock Bowers, where he crossed the field from the other side. I think Joshua Williams was supposed to kind of have like the deep third there, and he got caught looking at a shallower outbreaking route from his side of the field. And so little things like that that's like a very minor example of a really well-designed play, like by the Raiders. That was a great job by them. But like it's little things like that is where I think you had seen the hesitation to put Joshua Williams out there, was things like that kind of happen a lot when he's out there. However, they were also happening with Nazeeh Johnson out there. So why not put the physically better player, the guy that I can say, hey, guess what? I need you to go press that wide receiver right there and not let him get off the line of scrimmage. Give me the guy that's more likely to do that. Give me the guy that has flashed the ability to play the ball over the shoulder and make some plays on the football downfield, and has just played bigger snaps for this team over Nazeeh Johnson, if we're going to get the same kind of mental mistakes from both of those guys. And I think that was ultimately what the Chiefs landed on in this game. You saw that broken play or busted coverage where it looked like Nazeeh Johnson decided to try to hang out in the flat. They give up the 2 vertical routes. The safety kind of runs at the post. They give up the long play. Nazeeh gets pulled a couple plays later. Keith Taylor replaces him for the red zone snaps, which is weird. I don't know why they went to Keith Taylor initially. And then Joshua Williams comes in to play out the rest of the game, targeted twice, no receptions. I thought he came up and played physical when they tried to have to run towards him or anything like that. So yeah, I thought that was a very good game for Joshua Williams. He has earned every right to come in and start the next game and kind of see where it plays out from there, I think.
So where do you think we go from here then, I guess, when it comes to the cornerback room? Like, do you think it's Joshua Williams that just gets, put in this position, this situation now? Is he cornerback 2 for this next stretch? What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think you got to ride that. You now are getting back to where you were with Watson and Williams, probably as like rookies, where you're kind of riding the hot hand, maybe riding matchups, maybe every 2 to 3 series you give, at this point, Nazeeh Johnson, who would be the corner 3, you give him a series just to kind of settle it in, throw things. low key, I wonder if that was like a benefit for the Chiefs, how much they rotated randomly their corners, like, right? Because you're doing a bunch of film study. You're like, I got this guy's tells, I got this guy's tendencies. You get on the sideline, your wide receiver coach or whoever's saying like, hey, you're going to do this because we know that guy likes that. And then you go out there and it's not that corner. It's somebody else entirely. I just wonder if that actually helped them more so than the rotation was for their own purpose. It was just like it was throwing off the offense a little bit. And so maybe you still see something like that. However, the way the Chiefs want to play, they want to let the corner opposite of McDuffie go be physical, go beat up a wide receiver, push them around, and then play the run when it comes your way. Joshua Williams is the best guy for that. And if you're going to get blown coverages either way, go with Joshua Williams. So yeah, I think he's going to get the first crack. Maybe it's a rotation like the 2 series to 3 series like we have seen with Watson then Williams in the years past. I'm more concerned or confused. I'm going to take on this. What do you do about Shamari Connor? What are you just going to keep riding with him in the slot? Like what's the plan there? That's what I would say. Targeted 7 times, 6 catches, 91 yards. He gave up that touchdown that I was talking about, the Bowers. Like I said, I think he was supposed to have some help, but like even regardless, like he got ran away from on the play. It's not like he was in good position anyway. So like, what do we do with Connor, who is kind of getting targeted a lot?
Well, and that's like, it's a great question, but like, who are you replacing him with? And, like this team obviously feels some kind of way about outside cornerback too, and doesn't trust a guy like Joshua Williams entirely, doesn't feel like, until this week, and, to play there. So like, are you going to throw Christian Roland Wallace out there now? Are you going to throw an undrafted free agent rookie out there? Are you going to try to roll with more Trent McDuffie? Like, you gotta have a replacement. I know Najee Johnson's played a little bit in the slot before. Like,
oh boy,
I'm just like, who are you replacing him with? Like, you have to have somebody to replace him with, and I'm just not sure that Chiefs have that on their roster.
I mean, I think you got to go back to Roland Wallace, right? I mean, like, give him a chance. Like, he played a couple games. It wasn't great, but it also wasn't terrible. I mean, like, and they know more than we do. They sat there and watched the film and said, we don't like it. And so maybe it was that bad. Maybe inside their room, their own internal grading or whatever they want, maybe it did go terribly for them and it didn't work out. But I'm watching, we've seen now multiple different types of wide receivers kind of start to have their way with Shamari Connor, right? Khalil Shakir, great slot wide receiver, quick, good over the middle of the field, tears them apart on in-breaking routes over the middle of the field. You go to the next week, and now you're playing the entire host of whatever the Panthers are trotting out there at wide receiver, but it doesn't matter. All these are now out-breaking routes that are torching him, whether it's David Moore, Adam Thielen, whoever, they're torching him on now out-breaking routes coming out of the slot. And you're like, okay, it's all right, breathe. You got the Raiders coming up. They have, shifty wide receivers, but they're not that good. And it's Aiden O'Connell. Maybe you'll do well. Well, he still gets beat like a drum again in there. Part of it's Brock Bowers, who's been excellent, leads the league in catches. Did you know that? Brock Bowers leads the NFL in catches.
He's been awesome.
Right. So like,
he's awesome.
It makes sense that you lose. It makes some sense that you lose reps, but fight back a little bit, right? And so he's losing to every type of matchup right now in coverage. That's a little worrisome because it doesn't feel like he has a great answer, a great grasp on how to recover from where he currently is. So yeah, I think a change up there might not be the worst, even if it's temporary, or you just go back to a 50-50 split where it's some normal nickel versus the heavy nickel, their Buffalo package where it's Connor in there as the safety, just to mix it up. Cause I don't know, it's not working right now.
Yeah. And just like looking at some things like Nick Jones is on the practice squad. I know he's got some slot experience. Like I'm again, like not saying this is something I don't know what the answer is there, or if they just continue to let him try to play some things out and see what happens. But it's not been good. One thing I have noticed, Jaden Hicks got his highest snap percentage of the season this week. He played 24 snaps. That's as many snaps as he played the previous 2 games combined on the defensive side of the ball. Starting to seem like maybe there's a little bit of an uptick there for him.
I mean, and similar concept, I don't think Brian Cook has put his best foot forward these past couple weeks either. And I'm not as concerned about him is like I think Shamari Connor, like he's not a guy that's just being overly targeted. He's just a guy that has been in very difficult situations, not able to come through. But yeah, Hicks is all of a sudden starting to get involved a little bit more. And you like seeing that. You like his athleticism pops off the screen compared to the rest of the Chiefs safeties. Connor's explosive coming downhill, right? Like he is, and I'll give him that, but like compared to even Reed, Justin Reed, or compared to Brian Cook, like just the size and the speed at which Jaden Hicks plays does kind of pop off the screen a little bit. So I like that they got him out there. They're getting him more reps. I think he is a guy you could use, but same concept. I don't know if he's somebody that you would ever put in the slot and be like, here's our slot coverage guy, nor is Cook, nor is Reed, and clearly nor is Connor. So like, yes, more snaps for him, but also how are you going to continue to play him and fix your issues?
I like how you say clearly nor is Connor, where like they probably think Connor of the guys you just listed is also the best guy to do it.
No, they do. They do. And like
I know it's just funny the way he framed it. Like, clearly
like,
not him. Maybe these other big dudes that are less,
Right. I don't know. It'll be interesting to follow because again, I do think they kind of try to get a fit. So okay, no, I mean I see this like right. Bumpo, he's a safety. I don't know why because they've done it in the past, but who else is it going to be? That's the whole point. Like, unless you're going to put Trent McDuffie back in the slot right now, and then you have to trust Joshua Williams and Najee Johnson outside, I don't think they want to do that. I think Spags feels like he would have to cut his coverage calls in half at best if he has to go that route. So they don't have somebody else to put in the slot. I think going into the season, if you still had Watson and Williams or Najee Johnson take a step forward, you can move Trent McDuffie around a little bit more. He can play 40-50% in the slot with Chamari Connor. Right now, you just don't have an answer. You just don't have anybody else to put there unless it's going to be undrafted rookie free agent, Christian Roland Wallace. That's it. That's what they got.
Oh, they got a lot of young guys. That they're
tricky.
And like I think they're cycling through some players and they're letting some guys get an experience and like, maybe it is like I don't know how to say this in the aggregate where they're having a lot of guys ready and maybe they mix some things up, they mix and match just a little bit, just to that's a small curveball that they can throw at teams. I don't know. I'm not saying it's a good idea. I'm just trying to figure out like what could it look like? How could it look if they were to do something like that? I don't really know if there's a ton of great options for them out there in free agency right now, either. So like, some veteran off the streets, I don't really know if anybody's coming that's really going to be able to help them, make a dent in this either. So you got what you got, and we'll see what happens with this group. Hopefully it's enough. It better be enough, and hopefully it's enough for them to keep the 1 seed. So currently the Kansas City Chiefs are 11-1. The Buffalo Bills are 10-2, but obviously hold the tiebreaker, which means that if the Chiefs and the Bills tie for record, it will go to the Buffalo Bills. The Chiefs will have to beat Josh Allen in Orchard Park again and rip the hearts out of all the Bills fans. I will say, just the vibes around Bills fans right now, if they don't win this Super Bowl, it's going to be so devastating because they're kind of feeling themselves a little bit right now. Like just the vibes out there in Buffalo is they are feeling themselves more than they have ever felt themselves, which has just kind of been interesting to me. It could be really devastating. This could be the most devastating one if they don't win this one. So I think it could be really hilarious if the Chiefs rip their hearts out, even if it is in Orchard Park. But how much do you think the 1 seed matters? Like we just didn't talk about the Bills. They're the only contender because the best team in the National Football League, the Baltimore Ravens, are 8-5. I've been reliably told that they're the best team, the most dangerous team, the most whatever team. But they're 8-5. And Isaiah likely has been wrong about their best football because they've lost 4 more games since they played the Chiefs. But anyway, sorry, I'm just running my mouth. Bengals aren't going to make the playoffs either, by the way. Which is kind of fun. Yeah. Who else wants to get on the list?
Well, I think everybody misunderstood Jamar Chase's words when he said that they are the team to be. I think you guys misunderstood. I think he just said we are the team that other teams do beat. I think that we took his words differently than what he meant. He was just saying that they are the team that everybody else beats.
Good. Well, I think we all took it too literally because everyone's doing it.
Okay, 1 seed. Well, actually, to your Bills point, I think right now Bills fans are feeling themselves, and I think they'll be devastated if they lose. But I think once they step back, they're going to be like, well, this was our quote-unquote rebuild year. We were supposed to be worse this year. and we might take a step forward. It might be the same. I think come off season, they will be fine with whatever happens if they don't win a Super Bowl this year, because it was supposed to be a down year. I think they will. But
I think they've got the Josh Allen MVP year. They think that they think Josh Allen's jumped Mahomes.
Sure, and that's fine. Rings. They'll be crushed. But go back and listen to any of them before the year started. They all expected it to be a little bit more of a fight after last year. Nobody thought that they were going to be like this much better than last year than they were this year. And I think they'll settle that in or cope themselves back into that in the offseason, and we'll have to see again next year. But 1 seed, I don't think the 1 seed matters in terms of having to go play a game on the road necessarily. We saw last year the Chiefs can go do that just fine. It's not an issue. I don't think that home field advantage is obviously great in the NFL. I don't know if it's as big of a deal, I think, as some fans make it out to be, unless it's getting Miami to come play a cold weather game. Then obviously it matters more than anything else in the world. But everything else, I don't think the home field advantage is quite as big. I think it's the rest, though. And specifically, we've already heard Chris Jones talking about like, hey, guys, we got to play, 3 games in 10 days, but we hadn't had a bye since week 6. Like, come on now. Like, we got to get that figured out. We need 2 byes, yada, yada, yada. If that's already in your mind at the beginning of December, if you don't get that bye in the playoffs, that's not great vibes. That's not a great feeling right there. So I do think because the Chiefs had such an early bye, getting that playoff bye week would be hugely beneficial, and not a must, but like, it would elevate a lot, I think, of how good they feel going into it.
I think the early bye is tough for very tough. And I actually saw something coming into the season that no team in the National Football League in the history of the Super Bowl era has won the Super Bowl with a bye as early as the Chiefs have it.
Okay.
So getting one of the earliest buys is miserable, and it puts you just kind of in a weird spot. They need to keep stacking. Some of these wins we could point back to and talk about the importance, because look, if the Bills drop one more game, the Chiefs have the flexibility to, potentially create their own bye, their own rest period here. If they can, win the next 4, because then they can rest up for that Broncos game. They can heal up, and they can have 3.5 weeks, removed, if they get that bye week. Right. And if the Chiefs put themselves in a situation, if they get into a situation where, the Bills take the lead, or, kind of have that 1 seed locked up, they're definitely going to, I don't know how hard they'd push for that week 18 game just to give themselves some rest, knowing that they've had that bye week so early. But I think the 1 seed is pretty important just from a rest perspective. The home field stuff, I don't think you're right. You're right. I don't think that's the thing that really bothers me or is the thing I'm most focused on. It's the rest, and being the only team to only have to play 2 games to get to the Super Bowl. That's big time. That matters significantly. The Chiefs did it the hard way, and they can still do it the hard way, but I'd rather them not. I'd rather them continue to take care of business. These next 2 weeks are going to be huge because the Chiefs, they got to keep up with the Bills. The Bills' next 2 games are really their most losable games, against the Rams and against.
That's what everybody said about the 49ers, and they came in there and waxed them off the field in a quarter and a half. And
the Jets, I don't think the Bills are the Patriots and the Jets. It's the Patriots, Jets, Patriots to close the season out. That's it.
Right, but that's what I'm saying is everybody talked about how hard the Bills closing schedule was, and I just think that theoretically it was supposed to be harder than what it's going to be. I don't know. The Bills are going to do their thing, and I don't think that they'll probably lose another game, whether it's one of those divisional games, whether it's this upcoming game. It's just, we'll see what happens. I will say this about home field or traveling. I don't think it bothers me. And obviously I'm not on the team, but I don't think it bothers me to have the Chiefs go play in any other stadium. It is whatever. That's no big deal. I will say though, Buffalo for the playoffs, I don't like a team's having to go there. My favorite team going there, because if that becomes an absolute blizzard snowstorm again, like it was the other day, the Bills are like the perfect team for that game, right? Like they are built perfectly for that. They have the quarterback that has the strongest arm in the NFL. They can just rifle the ball through any conditions. And he's also 250 pounds and throws his body around like it doesn't matter. And like that kind of stuff matters when you're going to be running in the snow. So like, I do think that is a pretty big home field advantage for them. If they get the right weather to go with it, they are the perfect team to play at home in a blizzard. So that is a little annoying that they are so perfectly set up to like get double home field advantage, not only the crowd, but potentially the weather element. So avoiding that would be nice.
Mahomes is a snow game guy though.
He's great. I just think there's a difference between a blizzard, like the blizzard, and not that Mahomes would be bad. I want to be very clear about that. Not that Mahomes would be bad in that weather. It's just Josh Allen's 250 pounds. And you know what sucks when it's, a blizzard and really cold? Tackling somebody that's 250 pounds that wants to run through your chest every play because he's a golden retriever at the heart. Right? Like that's not fun. And he's really good at that. And so they are the perfect team. They aren't like overly speed based, which can be tricky in the snow. It's just that they are a good team to play snow games. So yeah, keeping them away from having home field advantage and potential blizzard level weather, I think is nice.
I think the home field advantage could matter significantly for this team just because, of the early bye week. I think that could be really crucial. That is going to do it for this episode of the KC Laboratory. Thank you all so much for listening, watching, supporting. We love you. We appreciate you. We're under an hour. Got him.
Just linger here for 15 seconds, Tuck.
Stop it, Tuck. Right now.
Linger.
We could